So you've just got yourself your copy of Heaven and Hell and you've started reading. Perhaps you've seen the Netflix film Things Heard and Seen. And you're interested in reading about spirits and angels and demons. You're interested in descriptions of heaven and hell. You're interested in spiritual experience and paranormal phenomena. So why is Swedenborg still talking about God in chapter 2? Let's find out. So in this chapter he introduces a couple of new words that you'll probably be unfamiliar with. The first one is proprium, and the second one is influx. So paragraph 8, he writes this: "It is the divine of the Lord that makes heaven, and not the angels from anything of their proprium." So this word proprium comes from the Latin that Swedenborg himself uses. That word is proprium or proprio. And the closest word we have in English to it is appropriate or to appropriate, which is to make something one's own or claim it as one's own. So in Swedenborg, when he uses this word proprium, what he means is what is one's own. And that is having a self-identity. And it's very largely analogous to the word we use, ego. The second word is influx, and that has some connections with familiar English words. If you've seen the Back to the Future series, you'll be familiar with the flux capacitor. And flux simply means flow. So influx is what flows in. The angels of the inmost heaven also clearly perceive and feel the influx or inflow, and the more of it they receive, the more they seem to themselves to be in heaven. And here's why God's so important. He says, "It is the divine proceeding from the Lord which inflows with the angels and is received by them that makes heaven in general and in part." The idea being that what makes up heaven in the angels is what flows from the divine. It's important to remember when we're talking about the divine that everything that comes from the divine is good. We see it in this quote: "From that one fountain of life, which is the Lord, nothing proceeds except divine good and divine truth, which affect each person in accordance with the reception. Those who reject and suffocate them turn them into hell, for they turn good into evil and truth into falsity, thus life into death." So for Swedenborg, heaven in a sense is easy. Just don't get in the way of the flow. Doing good for the sake of good they call good from the divine. And they say it is this good that makes heaven because this good is the Lord. Good from the Lord is the Lord with the angels. So heaven is less of a place and more of a state of being. The state in which you do good because it is good and for no other reason. If you're interested to look at the idea of influx more deeply, you can go to this book, Interaction of the Soul and the Body. It was published in 1769. It's quite a philosophical book, but it's also quite short. And it presents 3 hypotheses for the relationship between the soul and the body. The first one he calls physical influx, which is the idea that body chemistry affects the state of the soul and the mind, for example. The second idea he contrasts with that is spiritual influx, which is the idea that there are such things as psychosomatic illnesses or the placebo effect, where the mind affects the state of the body. And he contrasts those again with a third idea he calls pre-established harmony. So what do you think? Do you think that the soul and the mind affect the state of the body? Or do you think that body chemistry affects the state of the mind? I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. As always, feel free to read ahead, pose any questions that you might have, or just read along with us. Enjoy the journey.